Hey everybody, welcome to the Relax and Enjoy Health podcast. I'm Andrew French and I'm your optimal health, well-being and balance coach. This is episode number 8 where I talk to Anne Iarchy. Today with Anne we're learning how to balance a healthy lifestyle with a busy one. Let's get into the interview. Welcome. Here we are with our episode, I don't know what episode we're going to be, but anyway, the Relax and Enjoy Health podcast. We're here with Anne Iarchy, and I got that correct?
You have indeed, which is quite impressive.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so Anne has been helping busy people for 12 years on how to combine a healthy lifestyle with a busy lifestyle. Anne, tell us about yourself and what you do.
So first of all, thanks for having me. As you mentioned, I help busy people lead a healthy lifestyle. I myself struggled at the time combining both, and it made me quite miserable. And I'm sure we're going to get into that in a bit more depth in a bit. But so I decided to really help people that don't feel confident, don't feel happy within themselves, get out of that funk and help them make lifestyle changes that are not drastic, but that will make a massive difference to how they feel, their happiness. And we all know that when we don't feel well within ourselves, it projects into lots of other things like work, like family life, and all the other bits and pieces. So that's what I help people with.
That's fantastic. And you've written a book of this, The 5 Simple Steps to Releasing the Real You. And I love, like, the first edition. I love the tagline, you don't need a diet, you never did. Tell us a bit about that.
We all try different diets and the new thing that's on the market, and we all hope to get a miracle cure or a miracle solution, let's say that way, for the way we are and the way we feel. And unfortunately, that doesn't work. And it all comes from within. We all have the tools and the ability to make some changes. We sometimes just need to see something and hear something or read something, which is why I wrote the book, to understand that by asking ourselves small and simple questions, we can make a massive change. So we don't need to this method or that method or whatever. It really comes from what we already do, just make slight tweaks and things will change.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way it's the small tweaks. Well, I was discussing with someone just the other day, it's the tiny habits that we increase over time, and we just keep stacking on top of each other so that it's attainable. And we're only doing one habit at a time, because once it's a habit, it becomes ingrained with us, and we just go through with that, and it's not a big effort.
It is, and I always say we have 3 types of habits. We have the good ones that we already have, which no one, by the way, generally thinks about it. We have the bad ones that we want to get rid of, which is what most people focus on. And we have the ones that we don't have yet that will be helpful into achieving our goals. And actually, if we focus on the ones we don't have yet and the good ones that we have, focus on these 2, the bad ones will just go, instead of just focusing on the bad ones and just kicking ourselves all the time.
That's awesome, because I find myself, when I'm trying to change something, it always seems bad work. But for some reason, when you just focus on something good, you're exactly right, the bad just seems to drop away.
I realized for myself. So I started the book actually saying I'm a Haribo addict. I don't know if you got that over there, but Haribo.
No, what's Haribo?
So they are jelly sweets. Like jelly bears and pick and mix, gotcha, and all these things. And I just love them. Even today, I can say that I just love them. But obviously now I realize what they did to me, and, I do whatever it takes to avoid them. But I realized that when I was, for instance, eating good food, I didn't have the cravings. So instead of saying, I can't have them, I really focused on the good stuff, and then the cravings just went.
Makes a big difference. Yeah, you said in the beginning, even in the beginning, you were a bit miserable with your life. Tell us about that.
So I worked really, really hard. I used to work in the IT industry. I was in sales. I used to travel a lot. I speak quite a few languages. So I was used to cover different countries, which meant a lot of travel, a lot of entertaining clients, and combining that with a healthy lifestyle is really hard when you're out and about on the road, on a plane, on a train, leave early, come home late. My fridge was always empty except for probably a bag of carrots, which I love carrots, and they last for a long time, so that was easy. But otherwise it was just a waste of food, really, to have food in the fridge and then come home and have to throw it all away. So lots of eating out, takeaways. I didn't really know how to combine. I always used to like exercise, but I never used to know how to combine exercise when, I was out and about. And so, yeah, my weight crept up, and I just didn't like the way I felt, even though I was making a joke of it. Inside, I wasn't happy. It affected lots of different things, to be honest. It affected my social life. I had no clothes that I like to see myself in. I didn't want to go out with friends because, how if you don't feel nice, it's no good. At work, I wasn't as probably assertive as I could be because I didn't like myself. And so it had an effect on lots of different things. Family as well. I was always miserable at family meetings because everyone looked great and I wasn't. And yeah, it's just not nice, really. And I wanted to change. But everyone that I spoke to was, well, follow this diet and come to the gym 5 times a week and you'll be fine. But that wasn't my reality. I wasn't able to come to the gym 5 times a week because I was never there. I wasn't really able to follow a specific diet because I wasn't at home. So how do you do it when you're out and about? And so it was all quite black and white. And I felt miserable. And
so what did you do?
When I started doing my own research and a lot of studying and a lot of reading that I thought, you know what, there should be another way. I mean, my reality of traveling a hell of a lot is a reality that is there for a lot of people. So why could they not be healthy in the same way that I wanted to be healthy? And to be honest, I did meet a few people that were traveling a hell of a lot and that were healthy. And I observed, and I wasn't too convinced that getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym was my thing. But I saw what they were doing, and I tried to see if there's other ways of achieving the same result or similar results that doesn't require that massive discipline that I personally didn't have. And to be honest, today, I don't have anyway.
Still don't have it.
No, right. I don't.
All right. Not... So how do you succeed then?
It probably, interestingly enough, comes from my upbringing. So my mum, and still today, by the way, my mum had plans for everything. Every day of the week was planned. And it makes life easy, but it's very, very inflexible. And I kind of rebelled against that in one way or another. And still today, when things are way too structured, I struggle. So I like the flexibility, but I know what I need to do within that flexibility. And some people need it. It's not the easiest one when you want to get results, to be honest. But it's one that works for me personally. So yeah. So one
Okay,
day,
so
so let's say I want to make arrangements to go to the gym with a friend. I am very spontaneous. I'm like, oh, I've got a little bit of time. Boom, let's go now. So I end up going by myself most of the time because it's hard to, but it works for me. While other people would say, oh, let's make an arrangement at 8 o'clock, and that's the same day, same day of the week, every week at 8 o'clock. It kind of, I struggle with that.
wow, that's amazing. It's just, I guess, yeah, it's different mindset. So my parents had they had the meat and three veg. It was dinner was plated up in the kitchen, brought to you at the table. If once you ate, you had eaten. That's it. So whether you're hungry or not, doesn't matter. Food was plated. You had your dinner, and I've fed you. And I think, yeah, I've my entire life now the food gets placed in the middle of the table, and people can have whatever they like, because
Yeah.
if you want heaps of veggies, have heaps of veggies. If you just want meat, have meat. Yeah, and yeah, I guess that's my little rebellion from the way that I grew up.
Yeah, well, I was like you as well. So, and then, we knew, I can still tell you what we had on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday was a little bit more whatever, because my dad used to go to the market. So depending on what he brought back from the market. But yeah, it was, I don't like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan either. Okay, what what are your clients' biggest struggles? When they first come to you, what are they struggling with?
So what they say they struggle with is their weight. What they don't say they struggle with is lots of other stuff like confidence, self-esteem, sleep, bloatedness, not fitting in their clothes, not being able to do certain things with their kids, not being able to fit on an airplane seat, not having the confidence to speak up at work, not going on dates, lots of different things that they struggle with that they put down to, I'm struggling with my weight. I tried lots of different diets and nothing works.
That's the thing. So how do you help them get through all these?
Some are very fixated on the number on the scales, and I slightly struggle with that kind of way of thinking. So before I work with someone, I have a long chat with them to see if they are ready to look at things in a different way. And I don't prescribe a diet. I look at what they currently do and help them make improvements. I have lots of different clients from different backgrounds. I have Indian clients, I have British clients, I have some Jewish clients, I have some Asian clients. If I give them a diet that is one for all, it just won't work. Tell an Indian client not to eat any curries anymore, that's not going to happen. Tell an Asian client that they can't have any rice, that's not going to happen either. So it's about taking what they currently do and help them to make it better. So I have lots of vegetarian clients, for instance, and funnily enough, lots of veggie clients don't eat enough vegetables. So I look at what they do and help them make improvements in what they do. That's from a nutrition point of view. From an exercise point of view, I look at what they currently do and see where exercise will fit in. I have one lady I started with let's do 10 minutes 5 times a week of whatever you want. When could you fit those 10 minutes in? I have another client I currently work with, and she said, the best time for me to exercise is in the morning. I'm like, okay, so what are you currently doing in the morning? She said, I love to be in bed with my cup of tea in the morning. Right, okay, that's great. So could you do it before? Could you do it after? Then go back and, say, well, I've done what I need to do. Now let's have my cup of tea and go back to bed. And that's what she felt was the right thing for her. So I didn't care when she was doing her exercise, as long as it was something that she accepted, that was the way forward. So to me, it's really important that the person that I work with chooses what works for them. I put lots of different options in front of them and they choose. And the minute they choose, it's really empowering, as opposed to say, this is what you should be doing and this is what you have to do. It's actually, I'm the one that chose, so I can do it. I feel I can do it. The same with sleep. I have some clients who go to bed way past midnight every night because they're watching Netflix, or they're at work still late at night, or they just sit in front of the TV, whatever they do. And it's about, okay, what are you willing to change in your sleeping routine? Because we all know that when we're tired, the next day we're making bad choices.
Exactly.
It's one of those things. So I make people think more about what they do, as opposed to say, this is what you should be doing, off you go.
I think it's great because every single thing you've been saying comes back to your 3 types of habits. You got the good ones they've already have, the bad ones that you want to get rid of, and you got the ones that we don't have yet but we do want to cultivate. And I love the way that everything you're doing with all this completely different variety of customer, you're actually doing the exact same process with every single one. You're finding what they do have that is good for them and is going to help their well-being and everything, and you're finding what's bad and you're helping them cultivate more of the good ones. And it's actually, those good ones are actually the basis for the brand new ones that are coming in as well, so that makes it quite an easy transition for them.
It is, and it's quite an interesting one, the way you actually describe it, because when someone asks me what, so every client, you start working with something different. I'm like, yeah, we all are what we are today because of what we do. We can't change that. So every solution for every client will be different, because one client actually goes to bed super early and then gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then their day is very different. So we need to look at how supporting their day. It really varies. So if you just impose something on someone, it's not going to work. One anecdote, I used to work with this girl when I used to work in corporate. And she came on a Monday morning and said, I've got this new diet, all good and well. And it was very prescriptive with what she had to eat at what time of the day. And on one of the days that week, we were in the middle of a meeting, and off came this box of really smelly food that she opened in the middle of the meeting. And I'm like, well, can't you wait until the end of the meeting? Oh, no, this is the time I need to eat. I was just like, how, seriously, that's just not going to work. And, probably 2 weeks later, she stopped her diet because it was just not right. It didn't work.
It's just too much work. Very much too much work. All right, so what about you? What is your biggest struggle?
It's a good question there. My biggest struggle is probably the flexibility that I have. So I need to really make sure that within that flexibility, I do what I need to do for myself. But also probably I want to do so many different things that I need to be very conscious about not spreading myself thin and doing too many things. I'd love to go cycling, and I'd love to do this, and I'd love to do that, and it's just sometimes just too much. So it is really about planning, which and making a list. I have lists for everything.
So
and
you have structure in your complete
I have
flexibility.
structure. Yeah, I do. And then prioritize. That's probably my biggest thing. Of every day, I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, this is what I need to do today. How am I going to make it happen? And within my day, I can be quite flexible as long as, but I don't overdo it. So my to-do list is not one of those mega things. I have a very short to-do list every day, because otherwise you end up doing nothing.
All right. So you've got lists, you've got structure in the midst of your flexibility. And I guess the cool thing is, I mean, you want to do so many things, and, I guess, so you've got your priorities and stuff, so you get to choose what things you get to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's whatever you feel like on that day.
Kind of. There's
of.
still some, well, in the sense that, there's some things I want to achieve in life. And so I need to make sure that what I do is getting me to my end goals. So I generally take whatever goal I want to achieve, I break it down and into manageable steps, and then off I go in and do those steps. My struggle probably is the fact that I like that flexibility, and I know that on some days I don't do enough of what I should be doing. But then on other days I do way more because I'm so focused that I do much more. So eventually I get there as well.
That's
But I
awesome.
don't beat
Now,
myself up over it, which is what some people,
I
that
think
are,
that's the
for instance,
biggest
on a
thing,
weight loss journey.
self-compassion.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now going back to when you're in corporate, you're miserable, you're larger than you wanted to be, not like having the confidence. Was there a specific moment that actually made you change, that all of a sudden gave you the kick in the pants that you needed?
There were two moments. One, I was at a friend's wedding, and I saw pictures of myself
It's
from that
always
wedding.
women and the wedding pictures.
Yeah, that's one thing. But the second thing as well is I I couldn't fit into my clothes, and I had to go and buy the size up, and that's one thing I really didn't want to. I want to do. So those were probably the two key moments that did it for me. So very, very external things in one way or another when you think about it. So nothing from me saying enough is enough and today is the day. It really was two really external stuff that happened, clothes shopping and a picture, that did it for me.
So what did you change immediately, or was it gradual? Did you actually follow the 3 types of habits system?
I because I had tried lots of different diets before, and some worked, by the way, they just weren't sustainable. I at that time, it was trial and error. Certain things worked, certain things didn't. I knew I had to eat a little bit better. So the first thing I did was making sure I had veg with every meal, and not ordering. There were a few things that I did: eating veg with every meal, not doubling up on my carbs. So if I had chips, for instance, I didn't have bread or rice in the same meal, something, or potatoes as well. I made a rule, which sounds quite funny, but I made a rule that chips are really nice, but the minute they're cold, they're actually not that nice anymore. When you have your bowl of chips. So I made a rule that I'll have chips, but the minute they're cold, they'll stay there. So I'll stop eating. So that kind of reduced the amount of chips that I was eating. And I wouldn't look at the dessert menu before ordering when I was out.
That's a big thing. Every time I go out, I never look at the desserts menu, and my wife looks at it every single time, just in case.
Yep, just in case. And to be honest, I made choices of what I was going to have before to be able to have dessert. So
Wow.
yeah, definitely. So those little things, I mean, they're not massive bits if you think about it, but they made a big difference because not just that it make a big difference from health purpose, but also it felt that I was in control. So
Yeah.
I was the one to make the choices, which is massive as well. Quite often I hear, oh my God, I couldn't help it but have X, Y, Z. Well, when you think about it, we are all in control. Obviously, some days, things happen. But I'd say 95% of the time, we are in control of the choices that we make.
Yeah,
So,
that's exactly right. And it's funny, like you say about the control, because like I've done health and fitness since, I was 16 years old, and I've been a chef for 30 years, and I've gone up to 120 kilos of, pure roly-poly fat, and I've been really muscular, and I'm somewhere in the middle at the moment. And but it's interesting, like I reckon I tried every single diet under the sun, and there were literally some diets where you would lose control. And I used to tell people that sometimes it was like all of a sudden you'd become aware again, and you're halfway through your second pie, and
mhm.
you made a conscious decision to have the meat pie for lunch, but it's almost like you had no memory of it. And then it's like when immediately that craving gets taken away, all of a sudden your little bit of your brain wakes up and goes, we weren't going to do this. And you're just like, oh wow. Which,
Mm,
if you're not careful and you don't have that self-compassion, does send you into the eating spiral, because
yeah.
it doesn't matter now, and everything like that. But it's interesting how different diets can actually have those negative impacts on you, because you do get tired, you do lose that decision making ability, you do let the cravings take over if you I guess don't let yourself have them for so long. And yeah, a lot of people, I'm sure lots of people do the exact same thing.
They do. I mean, that control as well, when it becomes, second nature, it's very empowering as well, because you're like, oh my God, I actually can do it. Now I'm ready for the next stage. What more can I do?
Exactly. And it's just like you're saying, those little habits, like I will have vegetables with every meal. If the chips are cold, then we don't eat them, because cold chips suck. I recently did. My wife's doing hypnotherapy at the moment, so she's just qualified in hypnotherapy. She's doing her masters this week, and she was just teaching me, because for me, when I'm out at camp, because they have ice cream fridges with every ice cream imaginable, and I
Wow.
was, you know, I'll just treat myself. And then next minute it's every second day, and then next minute it's every day. And so she actually did this one with me, where you actually associate the ice cream with something that is not nice.
Mm,
Something I definitely don't want, and all this type of stuff. And all of a sudden it takes the craving away, because all of a sudden you've taken it from, something nice to something not nice, and that becomes your association. Like you're doing with the chips. Cold chips are terrible. We don't eat cold chips. Like we're too good for cold chips, and it's cool because it's such a simple rule. And like mine at the moment is, no matter what I'm eating, I will leave something behind, because I don't need to eat that. So it could be an absolutely delicious meal, but no, I'm going to leave some, because I don't need to eat that.
mhm. Yeah,
Because
it doesn't
I see
matter
it all the
what
time.
it doesn't matter what decision it is, as long as you make a decision one way or another. And the same with dessert. Like now, I order way less dessert, but the amount of desserts that I had that are actually not tasty is crazy. So now I might have a spoonful. If it's not nice enough, I just won't have it.
That's awesome. And considering you used to make your entire meal choices based around what dessert was going to be.
Yep.
So that's massive.
Definitely.
So that's incredible. All right. Now, do you have a coach or a mentor yourself?
Not right now at the moment. I am still working through a lot of stuff that I worked with my previous coach. And once I've done that and I'm at that next stage, I'll revisit and say, is that coach still the right one for me or not? Yeah.
That's awesome. The fact that, you can change, you can evolve. And sometimes I love the fact I've definitely had a few coaches myself, and sometimes, sometimes you leave because of financial reasons or something, and sometimes it just doesn't serve you anymore, and it's time, and it might actually be time to move on. So that's fantastic.
I think I worked with quite a few coaches over the years, and some were really great for the stage I was at.
Exactly.
But they themselves evolve in one way or another, and sometimes you just grow apart, and that's perfectly fine.
All right. So now I've come up to the part now. Do you have daily habits and rituals with your massive no, I don't have structure, but I do have structure?
So there's a few things that I do every day. First of all, I start my day with a shower and a green tea. That's the first thing I do. I can't start my day without those two, and breakfast. That's one thing I always do. And then there's a few things that I do in the evening. Before I go to bed, I do a lot of batch cooking. I live by myself, and cooking for one is not much fun. So I have lots of food in the freezer, that stuff that I've cooked before, or just portioned different fish, different whatever. I do eat a lot of fish. And before I go to bed, I take out whatever I want to eat the following day. So I don't know what I'm going to have the following day. I just look at my diary and I say, okay, I'm at home for lunch and dinner. What am I going to have tomorrow? And that's what I take out of the freezer. And then just before going to bed, or actually when I am in bed, so just before turning the light off, I have not so much a gratitude journal, but a notebook where I write down the one good thing that happened to me today. So that I go to bed, I close my eyes on a positive note. So yeah, those are the few things that I do as a routine on a regular basis. But it does mean that I know what I'm going to eat the next day. It does mean that I start the day well, and it does mean that I finish the day well as well.
That's amazing. That's really, really good. So now, do you do anything specific for mindset on a daily basis? Like some people meditate, some people, but is it just that particular gratitude journal, or is there anything further?
I don't do it regularly, in the sense that I don't do it on a daily basis. But when I feel stuck, I all write. That's one thing. Or I go for a swim, or I go for a walk. So those three things help me kind of see clarity. I don't know about you, but like lots of people say that when they're in the shower, lots of ideas come to their mind.
Definitely in the shower, yeah.
For me, it's when I'm in nature or in the swimming pool. So that's
Excellent.
those are the things I do. Yeah.
I went for a walk yesterday morning, which was, excellent to gain clarity. And at the end of my walk, there is this. They fly you into outback regional Queensland, and often you're in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere. I'm very lucky that the camp I'm at is in the middle of a very small town who has a 50-meter Olympic pool, which happens to open next month. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go. So it's interesting. You got the walking, you've got the swimming, and both of which I came to the decision yesterday. That's what I'll do when they open. So that's excellent. Yeah, because I do the clarity when you were swimming, because I did it years ago and I would do 20 laps of the pool a day. And you actually don't start swimming until you do 10 laps already. It's really interesting. It's one of those things, like most people, 10 laps is their workout. But in actual fact, that's just preparing you to get into that flow.
Yeah.
And then when you're in that flow, it's exactly like meditation in the sense that your brain is 100% free to go anywhere and do anything it wants to, and your body's just going through the motions. It's really quite a unique experience.
It is. The only frustrating thing is you don't have anything with you that you can write something down or pen paper. That's the only thing I'd say when it comes to swimming and getting clarity. But yeah.
Well, you're just going to have to get a wax pencil and a laminated piece of paper at the end, so you can just do notes at each end. All right, so
Good idea.
done. Nutritionally, how do you give yourself the best chance of success? We covered that. You basically do naturally what is meal planning for other people.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It
So
is.
getting all that organized.
And that's
Right, next.
probably from it's interestingly enough, probably from a necessity point of view, in the sense that, seriously, cooking for one is not fun at all. So, I just cook a big batch and boom, put it in containers, off in the freezer. So meal planning is a big one. And there's different ways of doing meal planning. There's no right or wrong. So I generally, to my clients, give lots of different options, and they choose whichever option talks to them, really. And that's what I then support them with. But yeah, you can't, if you just leave it to luck, it ain't going to happen. So you have to meal plan in one way or another.
That's excellent. All right, so family and friends, how is your social network and how does this affect you?
So family, I live far away from my parents, which is sometimes tricky and sometimes a relief at the same time. No, joking. I have a brother here with his family, which I'm very close to. I do school pickup for my nieces on a Friday, and then I stay for dinner and put them to bed. Since they were born, they're going to be 11, so that's kind of my time with them. I have all kinds of hobbies and friends from different sides of my life, I would say. And so, yeah, I do have a social life, but I, as an introvert, I do like my own time and own space as well. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So, in general, overall, so what do you recommend for people to give them the best chance of success?
It really is something that most of us don't do, is take a step back, slow down, and look at what you currently do. Observation is probably one of the best skills you can have. Self-observation, without telling yourself off. So self-compassion when it comes to that, and then observing others as well. Those are, and taking time to do it. We are all so busy and in a rush, and we just go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. Slowing down to speed up is probably one of the best skills you can have. So really about observing what you currently do, and then asking, obviously, the question, why are you doing what you're doing? Again, without beating yourself up over anything, because what you currently do is because of all the habits that you've built up over years. That's why you currently do whatever you're doing. So trying to think that, I'm going to unwrap it overnight and tomorrow morning I'm going to be a different person is not going to happen. But if you ask yourself the question, actually, why am I doing this? okay, now I know. What can I do differently next time? And then practice that over time. That's when you're going to see the biggest change. So really about observing and understanding, and then finding solutions to do things differently.
Awesome. Now, what habits would you recommend people establish? So slowing down to speed up is just the first step. Anything big after that?
So once you know what's missing, is to find, as you said at the beginning, find one or two things that you feel comfortable introducing in your life. Obviously, things that will lead you to your goals. So for me, it was eat more vegetables, or eat vegetables at every meal. So something very concrete. And then some other small bits. Your quality of sleep is probably a big one that I would say focus on as well. And then at the end of the day, do a short review of how your day went. And again, not for beating yourself up over it, but for learning. I feel every failure, if you can call it a failure, or anything that doesn't go to plan, is an opportunity to learn. And so a bit of a daily accountability, just to make sure of what you eat. So quite often when someone is on a weight loss journey, they do a food diary. Well, that's all good and well, and it's a very important one. But also ask yourself the question, what went well? What didn't go so well? Why did it go well, and why didn't it go so well? And what could I do differently next time that I'm in the same situation?
Those questions are awesome. Yeah, exactly. So basically, we come for everyone that, just like you said earlier, the 3 types of habits. Figure out your good habits. What have you got to actually work with? What are the negative habits that aren't serving you anymore in your current incarnation of where you're at? And what habits do you want to achieve? And I love the way you were talking about your own journey, finding the big goals and breaking them down into the manageable steps. So the habits that you don't have yet, sometimes they seem
massive,
huge. Sometimes they seem massive. But, like you said, can you start with 10 minutes? I remember one client, okay, you're going to start with checking your mailbox at the end of your driveway, and then when you can do that every single day, we're going to get you to go to the mailbox and then walk to the end of your property and then walk back, and for some people, those are massive, massive steps, but like breaking it down into the manageable chunks so that you might not be able to achieve the big 10-kilometer bike ride, but you can purchase a push bike.
Yeah.
You can 100%. Go to the park and just do one lap, so there's little steps that everyone can do, which will give them those good habits that will and those good habits will become their good habits that they have anyway.
Yeah.
And and that's fantastic.
Because also there will be days where you won't be able, even when you've achieved the big thing, okay, that, let's say, that 1 hour walk or that 10-kilometer cycle, there will be days where you physically can't do it because you have a massively busy day or something happens. But if you then go to, well, I actually have 10 minutes, what can I do in those 10 minutes? Then you still have done something. And I always say something, or doing something, is always better than doing nothing. So if your day doesn't pan out as you were expecting it to do that little thing and you still feel that you've achieved something.
Exactly. So it's like, what else can I do? And that's also, I always do that. I do that at work. What else can I do in the kitchen, in with my staff? But Yeah, and sometimes I definitely don't do that with myself. It's just, oh well, I'm not going to get to the gym today, But it's like, what else can I do? And I love that. That's
Few
what else can
squats
I
while
do?
the kettle is boiling. Come on.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
You know?
All right. So, what final advice would you give people?
Be kind to yourself. Don't be impatient. I think one of the things that we see in a world that is so busy, so quick, so everything is that we want things now. I mean, seriously, if there was a pill that would get us all healthy and slim and trim, I'd probably be out of work. You would be as well. But it's not realistic. So be patient, keep the course, and break it down into small things and be kind to yourself. You are going to get there. But one thing that and I'm not saying that to promote you or me or anything, but it's okay to ask for help. We're good at a lot of stuff, but we're not supposed to be good at everything. And changing lifestyle is a big one. Work, we have generally someone to help us and support us. Family, we just quite often have our friends and other family members that help us, to shape ourselves. Get yourself someone to help you achieve your goals. And it's okay to say, I can't do it myself. I mean, that's one of the things at the time that I really struggled with. I said, I'm an intelligent person. I'm successful at work. I'm creative. I'm everything. Why the hell can't I do it myself? Why can't I be successful at weight loss and healthy lifestyle for myself? And it was really frustrating until I realized and I let go and I said, okay, I need help. And asking for help is sometimes a hard thing to do, but it's an important one.
That's amazing. Now, and if anyone wants to get a hold of you, where would be the best way for them to find you?
Oh, everywhere. I've got my website, which is annearchy.com. I'm on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, all through my name. And then obviously there's my book. And I think the way I wrote the book, which is quite an interesting one, is actually a workbook, because inside the book, there's like exercises or questions to answer, which will help you take a step back and think. So if you want to do it alone, that's perfectly fine, but have those guiding questions to help you. And the book is on my website. Again, I don't ship to Australia, but I ship to the UK.
But it is available through Kindle.
It is available on Kindle, on Amazon, all the local bookshops, and everything else. Everywhere you expect a book to be, it's there.
That's fantastic. All right, Anne, thank you very, very much. I'll make sure those links are, on the bottom of the podcast and everyone, so everyone can find them. Thank you very much for your time today. I'm definitely enriched for having spoken to you tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and everyone else. Go and do it. You can. I know you can.
It's fantastic. All right. Take care. Have a great day.
Everyone who tuned in today, thanks for listening to today's Relax and Enjoy Health podcast with Anne Iarchy. If you'd like to know more about Anne, you can find her at anneiarchy.com, on Facebook at Anne Iarchy Coaching, or on Instagram at Anne Iarchy. I've been your host, Andrew French, for optimal health, well-being and balance. If you want the bullet points from today's podcast, or even for some free resources, check us out at relaxenjoyhealth.com.au. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or even leave us a review and a rating. To catch all the latest from us, you can follow us on Facebook at Relax Enjoy Health. But for now, stay sane and have a great day.